Hi, I'm Amy Detjen with Knitcircus, and I want to do a quick video to show you how I do Judy's Magic Cast-On for toe-up socks. It's a really great cast-on. It's easy to do, it stays in place, it's perfect looking. I'm going to use two 24-inch needles. You need two needles that are the same size. I'm using 24s. You could use 16s. You could use one circular needle that is longer and have the two ends double back to be the pair, or you could use two double-pointed needles. So I'm holding one on top and one on the bottom. Now I'm going to take the yarn and I'm going to put it over my thumb and forefinger so that there's about 12 inches hanging down there. I only am going to make 6 stitches on each needle, so I only need enough yarn to make 6 stitches, but I'm going to have more so that there's something to hold on to when I get done. So the way I set it up is I put my thumb and forefinger together and put the yarn over it with the tail in front, and then I hold it below. Now, to start, you want a really secure loop. Sometimes I do a loop like that to start, but I want a more secure loop for Judy's Magic Cast-On. So I'm going to take my front needle and I'm going to go under that strand, and then I'm going to twist it all the way around to get a really good solid twister on the bottom of that stitch. So you do these in pairs. So now I've got 1 stitch on the bottom needle and I need 1 stitch on the top needle. So I always take the bottom yarn to make a stitch on the top needle. So I'm going to hold these a little closer together. So I'm going to bring that yarn up between those two needles and around the top needle. Now I'm going to take the top yarn and bring it around the bottom needle, and then the bottom yarn around the top needle, and the top yarn around the bottom needle, the bottom yarn around the top needle, top yarn around the bottom needle. So right now I have 4 on each needle, and then there's 5, that's a pair, and 6, that's a pair. So now what I want to do is, you can let go of the yarn, that's kind of being held in place by the tail. You have to keep track of the tail for a little while before you start knitting. And the yarn is coming off that stitch over there. So now what I want to do is turn this upside down so that these little knots, and look, I did the wrong thing. I let go of my tail. So don't let go of your tail because this stitch will come undone if you do. So I'm going to hold on to the tail. And I want the little knots to be on top. Now I'm going to take this needle, this is why I like doing this on circs, and I'm going to pull those back stitches onto the cable of the needle so that gives me some slack on the front. Now I'm going to take the other end of the bottom needle, so I'm knitting with the red cabled needle off of one onto the other, and I'm going to take my working yarn and I'm going to hold the tail. If those two come untwisted, that stitch becomes not a stitch, and we don't want that. We want that stitch to be a stitch, so I have to make sure the tail stays around it. And now I'm just going to knit across these 6 stitches. 1, 2, it's like watching a shovel rust, watching someone knit fussy little stitches. Very boring. Okay, so I'm going to get to the 6th stitch, and now I'm going to pull those stitches onto the cable of that needle. I'm going to turn the whole thing around, and now I'm going to slide the blue cabled needle so that it is ready to go. And this is kind of an obnoxious little trick, but when I start this second needle, I actually knit into the back of that stitch. And can you see why? If I knit into the front of that stitch, that's going to be kind of big and weird. So, because it's the edge stitch and there's a lot going on in that corner. So I'm going to just knit into the back of that one to kind of tighten it up a tiny bit. And then I'm going to work across those 6 stitches. Okay. Now you can see I've got knitting going both directions on the same, and the inside it just looks like stockinette stitch. There's no Kitchener or anything involved, but you're going both directions at the same time, and it looks just like stockinette stitch all the way across. And what you're going to do now is you're going to start increasing for your toe. So you want to pretend like there's the very, very tip of your toe. And then you're going to start increasing at each end of each needle, and pretty soon you will have an actual big piece going. But that is how I do Judy's Magic Cast-On. Thanks for watching.